So this project is going to be mark making in a certain color scheme. So you're going to take a previous project we have already drawn. You have already outlined some objects using contour lines earlier in the semester, but now you're going to fill them in using mark making, which you can see here. There's all sort of different shapes you can do in your mark making. There's different motions. We'll look at some more examples in a second. But you're going to take that mark making, fill in all of the space using a certain color scheme. You will get to choose which color scheme you want to use. Um, this one here is primary. You see we have blue, red, yellow, and there's a large list of different color schemes that you're going to be able to use. But first, let's go back to talking about mark making. So when you're making marks on a piece of paper, um, it can be any different form or fashion. They can be smooth or quick and scribbly looking, or they could be made with a certain material. Like all of these are either pens or inks or pencils that you're seeing on the screen right now. So it's just any different way that you make a surface with a mark. So let's go over to the dot cam and let's look at some different ways we can make marks. So if we have, let's flip it so you're looking the same way as me. We have a variety of supplies here. So I have some paint, I have some crayons and markers. So first let's start with crayon. You know what you can do with crayons. You can color in, you can make it look really, really dark and shiny if you color um, over top of it. You can make different patterns pretty easily. You can draw just like you can draw with a pencil with your crowns. Now you can also draw in different shapes. Now with a pencil, you also know that you can do your shading marks to where you have sort of like these little, I call these like hatch marks, where they're all going the same way. This is also hatching because they're going the same way. Um, you could do cross hatching when they go back across it. You can do just like tiny scribbles, whatever different way you want to mark with pencil on a paper. And like I said, you could also shade in. Now we're going to be doing color schemes, so you're probably not going to use a pencil, but it still applies that we are looking at it for how it can make different marks. Now looking at a marker, the best thing about the markers that you should have are they're these wide tip markers, so you can hold them on their end and make really skinny, small, thin lines. You can turn them on their sides and make really bold marks. So if you wanted to make a big, bold, dotted line, you could do so pretty quickly using the side of your marker. But they can do all of your other basic line patterns also. Okay, ink pens give you a totally different feeling. Ooh, my desk is a little uneven. Ink pens are going to have a different feeling, especially if you're using either an ink, like a ballpoint ink pen, or you're using a felt tip marker. You can go in and draw tons of different patterns. There will be some listed on the assignment of different ideas for patterns so that if you get stuck, they can help you. And then there's paint. Like there's all different ways you can use paint. This is just paint in the tube. It's going to look a lot different than your other media. So you don't have to use that. Whatever you have lying at your house, but you should have the opportunity to use crayons, colored pencils, and markers for this one. Okay, so let's hop back over to our presentation. Um, so now you're going to decide, we're going back to look at what project you're doing. So you should be using this contour project, and I have it in here in a second, but you can see it better on the back side of my finished project. Okay, you've already created this piece. So you're going to be using that same piece and coloring it in. So here's what mine looked like before I started coloring it. Um, if you have to redraw it, just choose to draw only the outlines. So you're using those contour lines we talked about before, and try to have at least 3 to 5 objects in that drawing. So if you're having to totally restart and you can't find your drawing from earlier in the semester, here's some basic objects. I just went ahead and copied some pictures that you could draw. If you're really stuck on what objects to draw, these are fairly simple objects to choose. Feel free to pause it if you need to on this part. All right, so you're going to start with that outline, and then you're going to choose a color scheme. So when you're choosing color schemes, there's a huge window of different color schemes you can choose. First, you can choose monochromatic. That simply means one color. Chrome is color, mono means one. So if you choose purple, you can use any different form of purple. Okay, and everything on your page will be the same color. So that's a really easy one, but you might get really tired of using the same color. So let's say instead of doing one, you want to do an analogous color scheme. Analogous just means the color and its two neighbors, the ones on either side of it. So if you were using yellow, you could use lime green and orange. If you were using purple, you could use blue and like, um, I call this like fuchsia, like the color between purple and pink. But you could use like its neighbors. Okay, complementary is easy also. It's just whatever color is the opposite. So you should have your color wheels. Let me get my color wheel back out for you guys. Um, you should have your color wheels. We just finished. Where's it at? We just finished up. Okay, and you can choose opposites on the color wheel to be a color scheme. So you could do red and green, great time of year for that. You could do purple and yellow, the Lakers colors, orange and blue, or any of the other in between, as long as they're totally opposite of each other. All right, so there's also split complementary. This is the one that I chose to do. So if you look at my finished product here, I chose split complementary using lime green and teal. Let me make it smaller here, you can see. So I used lime green and teal and red. So it's green is straight across from red. I used the two colors beside green. So you can see how it makes this Y shape on the color wheel. All right, and then there's triad. That would be the same as using just primary colors or using just the secondary colors like orange, green, and purple. Now, some of these are similar to complementary colors. So if you were using yellow, you could just use orange and purple and pink as well. And then square, that one's a little more complicated depending on what you're doing, but basically they're using two complementary color schemes. But any of these are work, and there's tons of different combinations because it could be yellow and purple, orange and purple, or yellow and fuchsia, orange and purple, orange. This is yellow orange, and this color purple, orange and blue, um, back and forth. So there's going to be a lot of different combinations of these colors you can choose. Okay, so here's some examples by other classes. So they chose the same object to draw three different ways, but then this is their analogous color scheme because it's blue and then the green blue on either side of it. So it's like the blue and then the indigo purpley color and then the green blue color. And they have great mark making. So they have swirls, zigzags, loop-de-loos, and then this pattern, which I call like a giraffe pattern. Same thing over here. She chose a analogous color scheme also, which was like purple, pink, and like that fuchsia color in between, like red, violet, and purple. So it's another one that's really nicely done. Okay, so you can use whatever tools that you have with you. You should be able to use crayons and colored pencils for sure and markers. But if you have other stuff, if you have watercolors, crayons, um, different styles of art supplies at home, you can use that to color it in also. And then you're basically going to get busy trying to fill in all of that space using those different colors. This should be a nice fun project. I'm giving you 2 weeks to do it so that you will have plenty of time to fill in as much space as possible. All right. So good luck with that, guys.